Okay, here we are, week 7, just 2 weeks left. We are getting close to the end. You guys have been doing great. I know that this class is a lot of work, and I know that these classes in general are a lot of work, especially during the holiday season. So I just want to applaud all of you for being diligent, working hard, getting your work in, and so give yourselves a pat on the back. You got 2 weeks to go, and then you get to celebrate Christmas, New Year's, hopefully have a little bit of a mental break during that time, and get going again at the beginning of January. So I did go ahead and get some of your grading done for week 6. I still need to do your collage projects, which I will be doing tomorrow. So those should be done for you tomorrow. So make sure that you take a look at all of that. I did want to say I thought there was some interesting feedback on the discussion board about Ai Weiwei. I thought you guys brought up a really interesting point in this idea that Weiwei's incarceration actually could have served his message, being in that it brought a lot of publicity and kind of, it was almost a "hey, I told you so" statement. You know, they proved my point by arresting me for freedom of speech, all of this kind of stuff that was going on there. So I thought that was a really interesting point that several of you brought up. And I also thought it was interesting that some of you were talking about this idea of a cultural lens, that, you know, we're viewing this whole idea of freedom from a very American point of view in that context. So you guys were really using that context lesson a lot here. And that's very true, that the way we view such things as incarceration, freedom of speech in a democratic society is very different than how the Chinese traditionally may or may not have been viewing these issues. So I just want to applaud you guys. Some really interesting discussions going on in there. And I also am really happy with the feedback you guys gave about Makoto Fujimura. I think he's an incredibly interesting artist and kind of pushing the boundaries for what contemporary Christian art can be. So good job. I'm looking forward to looking at your collages. And let's go ahead and talk about what we got going on in week 7. Real quick before I do that, I did want to remind you that if we go ahead and look at week 8 in the learning activities, excuse me if you hear my washing machine in the background. I've got family coming into town trying to get some laundry done before they come in. Okay, week 8. So keep in mind that during this week, all assignments are due no later than Friday of week 8. And I wanted to draw your attention to your capstone project, because if you take a look at this, and I'll go over this in detail next week, that you are going to be visiting an established art gallery or museum for this assignment. I know I touched on this in that very first announcement for the overview of the class. So don't wait until the last second, and especially, I know things are so busy right now during the holidays, but make sure that you get this done. If you have any questions about a place to go, if you're not in Southern California and you're not sure where to go, send me an email. One of you already did that. One of you, I can't remember who you are, but you're in Austin, I think, and or outside of Austin, and you were sending me some suggestions for that, so good for you. And so I've listed here at the bottom some accepted museums or galleries. If it's not on this list, ask me if you're in Southern California, and if you're out of state and you're not sure where to go, go ahead and shoot me an email and I'll help you with that. So but make sure you get this visit done. Your whole capstone paper, your final project, is based on visiting a museum, and you have to include proof of attendance. So this can be an image or of a ticket stub or a current museum pamphlet. So just wanted to give you the heads up on that. You've got a week and 5 days until that's due. So make sure that you go ahead and start thinking about what you want to do for that project. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to week 7 here and see what we've got going on. We're talking about art and identity this week. I think this is a pretty interesting lecture. Again, no reading. You're done with the textbook, so that's something to be excited about. So we have our lecture and our quiz. So I think this is a relatively short, 27 minutes. So we're not too terribly long on this lecture. We've gotten a little shorter here towards the end of the session. Make sure you download your lecture slides, watch any clips that are in there, and your link is here, or you can view your lecture here. quiz, of course, you know where that's at. Short list of vocabulary this week. Your Artist of the Week is just enrichment, so there are no questions you have to answer, but it's a really interesting gal named Cindy Sherman, and she does a lot with this whole idea of art and identity, especially with the, being a female, and she talks about ideas of gender, self-awareness, identity, all these kinds of things. So if you are going to take the time, which I hope you do, but I understand everything's pretty busy right now, go ahead and explore her website, and then I've given you a couple of websites of her work. So there's a MoMA page about her, and there's a YouTube clip for you to watch about her as well. And then, of course, just like I said, consider how Cindy Sherman disrupts our ideas of identity, gender, and self-awareness. She's a really interesting artist, and she's working today. So another contemporary one that we want to be looking at. Okay, so we have a reflection this week, and this is done as a journal entry, I believe. Or rather, not a journal, it's done as a blog. So your peers can see this, but you are not required to interact and post comments like you are for the discussion boards. But what we're going to do is we're going to use Google Art Project again, and I want you to select one of the following collections to explore. So you can just click on these. I have Nigeria, Edo, which is Japan, and India. And so if you click on these, a whole collection is going to come up of non-Western artwork, and you can pick anything in here that you find to be particularly compelling. So from any one of these 3 collections. And so select one artwork to discuss from the collection and include the image with proper citation in your post, and make sure you include that actual image. It's a blog. We want to see the picture. If you're having trouble embedding images, don't hesitate to send me an email and I'll explain it to you again. First, describe this work using an ethnocentric approach, because we're going to talk about that in our lecture this week. And so how is this approach inappropriate to analyzing, describing, and interpreting this work of art? And I already got an email from one of you not quite sure what I meant by this, by an ethnocentric approach. So remember that we're focusing on this idea with ethnocentrism that our cultural point of view is superior to any other culture's point of view. So kind of take the most extreme example of that you can think of. And so this could be, let's just be honest. We're talking about racism, we're talking about sexism, we're talking about, being superior, looking at cultures that have been around for a very long time and considering them primitive. And so those are inappropriate ways of looking at describing and interpreting art. So I want you to actually go for that and show what that inappropriate way of looking at something would be. And then I want you to talk about what tools can we use to interpret this work appropriately. Next, what did you learn about this work that you found enlightening? And lastly, how can we approach non-Western and or non-Christian art from a Christian worldview? So consider how, even if you disagree with the message of the work, it still holds cultural merit. It still tells us something about the world, and learning something about the world is useful. And if we're coming again from that Christian perspective, I always like to talk to students about this whole concept of, it helps us know how to pray for the world. It helps us understand where people are coming from, where they might be coming from a different perspective as us, and that a lot of times that's just fine. And if it's something that we morally disagree with or spiritually disagree with, it gives us a little insight into who they are and where their opinions are being formed. So this is all about that. This really is all about getting around this concept of ethnocentrism, how to take a step back when we're looking at non-Western art, talk about context, getting out of our own sphere of understanding. And so, this is something to just really kind of dig into, this whole concept. And if you're having more trouble with this, please don't hesitate to email me. I keep saying don't hesitate. I need to come up with another phrase to use there. Okay. Self-portrait project. So this is your last creative project that we're going to be doing. You did your collage last week, and we're doing self-portraits this week. So for this assignment, you will need basic drawing materials, drawing paper, pencils, pens, markers, paint, you'll need a flashlight, and a partner to assist you. So follow that's redundant. Follow the instructions to draw your silhouette on an 8.5 by 11 or larger sheet of paper. So what you're going to do is we're going to actually make our own silhouettes first. So how you do this, you tape your drawing paper to the wall and sit parallel to the paper so that someone can see your profile. Set a flashlight across from you or have a partner shine the flashlight so that a shadow of your profile, your silhouette, is cast on the paper. So have a partner trace your silhouette onto the paper. Be sure your profile takes up the majority of that page. Don't give me a page and this tiny little head in the middle, right? Once your profile is transferred, fill in the silhouette with drawings and or text that describe your unique identity. We're talking about identity after all this week. So consider quotes, scripture, keywords, images that you relate to. Be as descriptive and honest as you can, and I've given you some inspiration images below. Use your own unique personality and creativity, but I expect to see this really filled in. Don't just give me a few words written in there. Again, I don't expect you guys to be professional artists. I've said this many, many times, but I expect you to put in your best effort. So when your self-portrait is complete, I want you to write a simple one-paragraph response documenting your experience of making this. Did it make you really start to consider who you are, your cultural makeup, what your identity is, and where you find your identity? Sometimes who we actually are and where we try to find who we are can be quite different. So to submit your self-portrait, scan or photograph your image, place it in a Word document or a PDF, for example. Your assignment should include a title page as usual. A lot of you guys are forgetting those title pages. Followed by your collage and then followed by your write-up. So I want title page, collage, write-up. And here's some inspiration. So again, these are from some professional artists. But you can see that they've really filled this in with a lot. There's a lot going on. So fill it in. Don't just give me a few little words, a few little images. I want it full. And you can have, creative license with this. This artist did something completely different. And of course, this isn't necessarily a self-portrait, but it's just the idea of kind of filling a silhouette with text and images. And so look at those, get some other inspiration from online and have fun with this project. So you've got your self-portrait. You have your non-Western art blog that you're doing, and we have Cindy Sherman, no questions for that, and your lecture and quiz. That's what we got going on this week. Any questions, let me know. Keep your sanity during the holidays. Don't freak out. You'll get through. Take it one day at a time and breathe, and you guys got it. Have a great week.